part of my networking, I then put it into my calendar so that next year I can flick them off a message going, happy birthday. So these are all the things that I will do to keep a track of my information. So I've got all my little tick boxes. So for example, when I'm dealing with like say it's clients, I might have, over the years, I've got hundreds and hundreds of clients. I don't want a tab running up the top for every single client that I'm actually working with, because then I just have tabs that would run on and on and on and on. And maybe I've only had one meeting with them. So it doesn't make sense me having a tab with one page and a tab with maybe two or a tab with three. So what I would do is, and you'll see here I've got project 1, project 2, project 3. I can actually indent my pages. So underneath that project, maybe it is, this is all the topics around a project, or if it was a client, for example. So say if I say that this one is anything to do with the Microsoft Reactor, for example, I can then do a drag to 2 levels a page. So this might be my, adoption session that I actually did and the work that we did in terms of a speaker spot, or it could be in regards to these productivity solutions. We've got different topics coming up. And each meeting that I then have underneath that then becomes on the adoption session, it could be, this is our meeting number 1 that we had around it, and this is our meeting number 2, and I'm typing fast, so we're getting plenty of, spelling mistakes. So you can start to see I get a structure. My tabs that I can group. My tabs down the right-hand side that I can structure and indent. Now, this allows me, you think about kind of your filing system you might have on documents. We kind of do this with our folders and grouping things together and our naming conventions, for example. So now I start to get a bit of a flow and a structure for me to be able to work. I have things like conferences. I just have one tab called conferences, and then underneath that is grouped together all the conferences, and then over on the right-hand side, a topic that I go to. And then underneath that, I'll then have all of the different screenshots and pictures and ways for me to be able to collect my information together, for example. So that's some of the structure. Now, what can I do with OneNote? I've got some of my structure going and I get to understand some of the structure. If it is my meetings with Mark, Pam's, and what I want to share that, with my team, when do I share a book? And I get asked this question a bit. When would I share? I have things like a client that I'm working with. I don't want to be sharing my own personal notebook. I've got notes, for example, if I go to my work notes, so here we go, my Microsoft Reactor, this is my live working notebook where I've got all my notes in here, and I've been doing this for a very long time. I can actually search my notes all the way back to October 2014. It actually goes a little further than that, but for this particular book, I've been using this since 2014. I've got approximately 6 to 7 years worth of notes that I can search and find. Why has that become super important for me? My clients come back around again and again and again. And I had a really, fabulous scenario. I was working with a particular client and I was in a session. I came back to them and I went, and they said to me, we recognize you. And I went, you do? I said, well, I actually did some work here around 4 years ago. And they went, really? And I went, yeah. And I went, I recognize you. She said, but I can't picture. So I went back to my notebook and I had actually taken photos of the team, and it was a change champion. I'd taken photos of them and I went, there you are. You were in my Change Champion session. Congratulations, 4 years on, you are running this program. You must have loved it. She said, oh yeah, it kicked me off into a whole new way of working. She just ran this project 4 years later. So it was phenomenal to see the journey. So those sorts of things where I can go, I spoke with this person or that client, or here's all my history. I don't lose my notes. Often we're using our Outlook, and it's where information goes to die. It's not a great way to be able to keep all your notes, for example. Or I see it done a lot in Word. And our information there is so scattered and hard to find because there's no structure to it. It's just a page. Same as your book is just a page, and it's probably sitting in a drawer somewhere and you'll never be able to find that note for the client again. So when I have a book that I'm going to share, I have to think about, well, what's the context? If I've got a project, for example, and it's purely with that client, I will create a whole new notebook to work with them and to share. So say it was that training, because I'll come back over here. Let's just have a look. I've got that training one that I just created, my training test. I've got a share button up the top, and you'll see share over in the app as well. So if I go share, in terms of who's done what, yes, we do. So I'll show you a little bit around who's put what in as part of sharing in just a minute, Francis. So thanks for that. So I can go, can they edit this book? And I go, yeah, look, what I can do is, because this is online, let me show you, just to make it fun. Share, anyone can edit, copy the link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to physically share this OneNote book with you, and you'll be able to see this. I'm going to put it into chat. Let's just see. Let's just double check and see. Can you come in to this notebook and start making a right old mess and have some fun with me in this notebook? So the beauty is, when I've got a team or a client, so if you go to chat, you should hopefully be able to click on it, and then I might be able to see you coming in. If you have any issues with coming into it, please advise. So in terms of, we'll have a look at some of the accessibility features in your notebooks as well. When it comes to then coming in and having a play with this notebook, as you start to join, we can all work on this together. So as a team, when we used to have it, and I mean, I'm ex-Microsoft as well. The funny part was, if you were late for the team meeting, you're it for taking notes next week. And no one really wanted to take the notes for the meeting. So it got to a bit of a competition of trying to get in there, and we started getting there sort of 5 minutes early, so we weren't the last one in, and taking notes next week. So it meant that any one of us could come in and take a bit of a note. So that should take you hopefully to online, and you should be able to then have a play around in the notebook if you come in. So as you start to then play around with it, let's have a look at the features that then make it of value. Okay. So here we go. Got all my notes, got my notebook, and having a play around with it. When we start to have a look at some of the really rich features that come with it, the share URL above is to the presentation rather than the actual book. Okay, so very good, thank you. So let me just drop that out, and I'm just going to come back. It didn't do the share. Let me just copy that again. Copy the link to test training. Let's just see, just the slides. Okay, let me come back. It looks like it's still wanting to do the share here. Just copy the link. Still coming up with. It should be just anyone. Let's go allow editing, copy, shareable link. Let's just see, is it doing it now? It's still wanting to bring up, rightio, let's go to this one instead. I'm going to share this one, file. You'll see I've got all my notebooks. In here, I can actually invite people to a notebook. Who can I share? Anyone. It looks a little different from one to the other, or I could physically put your name in. If I physically put your name in, it becomes a confidential link. Okay, so if I go anyone with the link can actually edit this book. And I go anyone, copy the link. There we go. That looks a little bit better in terms of the link. You should be able to join me in this notebook to be able to have a play. Okay. Here we go. So what happens is, as I start to bring in my meeting information, at the end of a meeting where I'm collaborating with you and I'm putting in to-do items and we're adjusting the information. You should be able to see live as I'm putting information in, and we're actually having a play around. I'll be able to see if you drop it in, and I'll be able to see where it is, because it gives me a little bar to say I've actually been playing with this information. So there's all sorts of really great things that come with us sharing a notebook. Now, the great part about this is I can share and I can take away. So the power sits with me. It is my OneNote book, for example. So as you start to then come in and have a play with this information, I could at the very end go, I want to email this page, because I go, I've got external clients that need access to this. So I go email the page, and you'll see what will happen is if I email the page, and if I've got a ton of participants that are actually included as a part of the meeting, it will also include them in the invite as well. It will just drop them all directly in for me. So that's some of the things that I do really like about this. So, I've got a adoption networking, I'm meeting this afternoon. If I go email this page, you'll see it includes everyone in it after I've taken the notes. External parties, I don't want to actually have it where, I'm sending this information out sort of regularly. So in terms of some of these introductions, let's have a look at some of the other features. I've just got to get rid of some of this. Delete, delete, delete. Mathematics features in the back end. Maths, I can put in maths formulas and just press the enter key or the space bar, and it just does it for me. I don't need to leave to get a calculator. I can drop in Excel reports, so really good for dashboarding if you want to put in conditional formatting. It is an Excel form, so I can work on it. So I could open this up, and now I've got Excel and I'm having a play around. When I'm trying to capture objects, and I do a lot around capturing. So I'll go insert, capture. This is a picture. So I could go insert and choose a tree screen clipping from anywhere. So say I choose a screen clipping of that because that's where I was last. It drops the picture in. Great part. I can right click and I can actually copy some of the text from this picture and just paste with a right click. I do this all the time. I'll often have quotes and that or mission statements, for example, that clients have. And I just take a screen clipping and I can get all the information out because it's got a full OCR recognition in the back end. When it comes to line pages, this whole writing piece, where it becomes really valuable. So say, for example, when I'm on the go, I will be taking notes and I will make sure that my book, for example, if I've got a tablet, whether I'm using my PC or I've got my tablet, and I then want to start to take notes, no matter what I use, and I can write and I can start to write. I'm going to turn off my background so that you can actually see this, because the applying my background effects is going to affect what you're going to see. So here in the office, here we go. So here we go. I got my notebook. You can see it on the screen and you can see me as well. So if I start to go, I want to put in some new notes, for example. And I'm not particularly neat in my writing, at any point I can sort of drop in some notes. The great part about this, whether I'm writing it here or I'm writing on there, it will actually sync for me and bring the notes over into the other book, because it doesn't matter where I'm doing my work. I flatten it down, I treat it like a tablet, I'll write in it, and then my clients know that I'm writing notes, because when I'm typing, it can kind of disconnect you from the client. But just if you collapse your screen down, it will help you in terms of etiquette. So screens can pretty much nearly go flat to the table, so you're out and you're transparent. So whether I do my notes through there or I type it or write it on the screen. So if I go, I'm not going to be writing very neatly on here. I'll just put in intro, for example. There's my notes. You can see who's putting in and who's not. Great part is up on my draw tab, I can go ink to text up the top here and convert it over. There's my new notes. Everything goes from the handwritten over into my notes. Thanks. You can see now someone's coming in. You can see I've got guest contributors. Now, if I was asking you, if I didn't do an anyone link, if I had your name and you had to physically log in, it wouldn't be a guest contributor. It would actually have your name physically against it. So as we share and we type the notes into the notebook, we know exactly who it is. So we've got this kind of tracking system and we can tick things off as the meeting goes on. I don't need to email my notes around. And when I'm doing things like, brainstorming, for example, I've got all sorts of really great little features up the top here. I can go brainstorming and what do I want to put in here? And I could start to do some sort of flow charting. Now in the app, it's not as intuitive in the application when it comes to pictures as what it is in the app. So if I'm in the app and I go to my drawing, you'll see here I've got an ink to shape in the app. So if I go ink to shape and I do a circle, you'll see it locks to a circle, a rectangle. So there's some of the beauties that having the app maybe over the application, but they are merging together. I have my ruler in here as well, which I can use based on my touch. I can put it at, whatever angle. I've got it on 2 degree and I can just move it down another 2 degree and another one. And I've got my ruler to be able to play with. I've got all my ink to shape, and if I'm doing an arrow, it's like it's not recognizing yet the fact that it's an arrow tip, but we can actually play around with this, and I've got there my drawing features and functionality. So as part of some of the other things with capturing, what do? I send information to OneNote. I don't print. So this is half of that paper light. One, get rid of your books, get rid of your printing. What I'll do is, so say for example, I've got here a Word document, going paperless with OneNote. I'm going to go File, Print. When I print, it goes, well, where do you want to print? I can go, oh, hang on, where do I want to print? I can say print to my OneNote. Okay, so I go print. It's going to go, rightio, where do you want it to go? I'm in training. I'm currently just in my training file. You'll see here it is. So I'm just going to go, okay. And now I've got a printout and I go, okay, on this, I actually want to talk with you guys about the fact that it's OneNote. We really could spend around about 2 hours on this. Down here, I want to start to adjust this around. Can we put in the M365 instead of, let me just flip my pen over because I've got an eraser on the other end and go make that 365. So what I'll do is I'll do my note taking in this way. And when I'm finished, if I really need to, and I can put a name, I then go email the page to someone. Here's all the notes from that document. Here's the printout. Can you please make sure that you've made these adjustments for me? And I could then just send that off. Or if it's a shared notebook, I don't need to email it anyway. Okay. So here we go. I can print and do anything with my documentation, whatever it looks like. Often I'll get something like a handout at a conference, and I don't fill it out on a piece of paper. I grab my phone. So let's have a look. Let me just see if I can, it didn't want to do it for me before. Let's just see if I can do my mirror go and bring it up. No, it doesn't want to. I had tried a couple of times, which is what you're seeing on the screen a little earlier. And not today for me, unfortunately. It is connected, but it doesn't want to recognize it. So can't show you on my phone. Bummer. Right, so what I might do is I use my phone, you can see here, if I just swipe over from left to right, I've even got the little OneNote on here that I can just tap on a picture. Or I might even use my OneNote app. And what I'll do is I will actually work on the go. Each page that I've got on a blank page, I've got, I want to take, and you might be able to see in my camera, I'm putting it up on the screen. You've actually got, on that app, I can take photos of things. So how do I use this? One, conferences. I've got whiteboards I can capture, business cards I can capture. I've got documents I capture and then I draw all over them, for example. Give you a bit of an idea, I do cake decorating. So I was at a course recently. This was the PDF. I saved it into my OneDrive and I've dropped it into my OneNote. So I've got insert, a file attachment. That was the PDF on all the instructions on how to. But I was taking pictures with my phone along the way and typing notes from my phone of my step by step of everything that I was doing on my course. Now, I do this for both client workshops, for example, and getting an understanding and some of the last things that I might actually do. So I collate all my information. You can see here links to everything. How do I do? Step by steps. They're all done through here. This is how I use it in my personal world. So I've done lots of different courses along the way. So for example, here we go, buttercream cake, go all the way down to the bottom, and that was the final cake that I did. Taking steps along the way, learning. So I capture it in so many ways. I will do things like if I'm on a page and being a subject matter expert and training across this, I go, I have so much information I have to collate all the time. So what I do is I just send it to OneNote. Everything I do, I just go send it into OneNote. I do screen captures, for example, or I just go share and send this to my OneNote. How to dictate in Microsoft Office. I've got it going into my projects, that's fine, and I'll go send, and that will then come up over in my notebook. So I just send everything in. I print it, I send it. That way, I have one place to go to get my knowledge later on. So some of the other features that I would actually work with in terms of my training and keeping things together. Apart from my audio and video recordings, because I can do all of that on my insert tab, as I start to do a recording of audio, it will even bookmark and play from wherever it is you started to type if you're recording. If you're going to record anything, always advise people, by the way. If I'm doing dictation, now my microphone is actually being used at the moment. What you can do in terms of dictation, if I go over into the app and I go, I want to do dictation, one of the great parts of Dictate, and I can then turn it on, in my dictation, it will start to type and I can go, period. A new sentence. So new paragraph. Where are we going to go today? Question mark. So it's got natural language as part of my dictation. It will put down, if you do a space, there are certain commands in terms of dictation. Go and have a look online. It will just keep typing unless you stop and say, period. Okay? So this is how we do our natural language dictation in Microsoft Office, whether you're using OneNote. Now, it is not in the application, it is in the app. It is online, it is across all the different apps, and it's also on your mobile phone. So you can do dictation on your mobile phone. There is the little microphone in OneNote on the app on your phone. Highly recommend getting that app on your phone to be able to capture things along the way. So what else do I, often do? Here we are, we've got capturing, we've got dictating, we've got working on shapes, we've got capturing information from all over the place. We get our text and we can actually bring it out of our content. So many really awesome features. What if I'm trying to search and find something though? Because we end up with, and I have got notebooks, as I said, with information going all the way back to 2014. So then it goes, well, if I want to try and find something, is it me that's typed it in? Is it someone else that's typed it in? Was I taking notes, for example? So I've got the word risk here. So if I type in the word risk, you'll actually see it recognizes my handwriting. Not only that, but if it is a picture, let's go back up here. Here's my checklist up here, or I've got the printout. Let me just type in checklist. Okay, and it's not going to do it on that one. Let me come down here and put in OneNote. Okay, so it's finding OneNote for me right throughout this document. So it looks inside PDFs as part of OCR recognition. It will recognize my handwriting. I will handwrite and convert my writing wherever I go. If you go, my handwriting is really messy and it's not recognizing it, or when you convert your handwriting over, it seems to have a lot of mistakes. Look, for me, if it's got 20 mistakes in a massive page of thinking when I'm, talking or thinking about blogging, I don't mind if it's got 20 mistakes. Frankly, I prefer 20 mistakes than to type the whole thing up. But you can, with your device, go into your pen settings and, go get to know your pen settings, by the way. So if I go into my pen and my window settings, let me bring it over here. 1, if you are left-handed, change it for your pen as part of drawing. So I just typed in and found my pen settings. 2, if you're a left-handed, a lot of times what happens is as you drag your hand across the page, it might move things around. So you might go ignore touch input if it's jumping around, for example. It's usually because the way that we put our hand on a screen, we often go hand, then pen, rather than pen, then hand. Okay, so if it's moving around, it's just the way that you're kind of dropping your hand on a screen. So just swap that out. But if it goes, it's really, I've got illegible writing, for example, go down and go and improve the recognition of your pen. It gives you lines to write. What am I doing? English Australian. You can either target very specific areas, so it's not recognizing your S's, for example, or teach it. So write out lines. The quick brown frocks, for example. And that way you start to increase and improve your handwriting recognition so that when I'm doing diagrams or I'm working in this, it can make such a difference to what turns up on my page. The moment I go and in my drawing, I start to do my ink to text, for example. You'll also note there's ink to maths in here. I've got lots of really cool drawing and functionality that I can actually do as part of working. I've got shared notebooks, I've got group pages, I've got tabs, I've got pages that I can actually indent. So that one there is just like that one, and I can go and indent it in, for example, so that it's all common and familiar and grouped together. As we started to type things in, I can see that we've got shared content for me to be able to work with. I can also, as a part of it, if I put something in on my home tab, even class it as an Outlook task. This is a task for today. This one was a task and it was going to be for, potentially, later on this week, and this one, and then that task goes through to Outlook. So I can actually go over, open the task in Outlook. It will flow through into your Outlook, and I can start to say, well, who's it for? Should there be a reminder? When has it got to be done? Started, time, how complete is it? Save it. Now I start to get tasks that come up over here in my task list, for example, of what I need to do. It was untitled, so there really wasn't much there. So here's my untitled. If I mark it off here, it will flow through over into OneNote. So I start to get one place to go to get my notes, one place for the way that I type things up. Even to the personal side of things, of shopping lists with family, so that it's shared and they go in and go get something off the list, I go get something off the list, usually the more expensive of the things off the list, guaranteed, for example. So if I go mark as complete, and then I start to then come back over into my OneNote, what will happen is I'd have to give it a moment because it's syncing and going online and it's coming back down again. So whether I'm using my mobile phone to mark that off, which I could use here to mark it off, it's all one notebook. If you've got notebooks in your online environment, there it is, it's just marked it off without me doing anything. If you go online, you can even go sync this down to my desktop. If you don't have it, you can go online and you can go and have a look at it. Whatever that actually looks like for you, you can put bookmarks in to other pages. Each page comes with different links, so you can copy a link to the page. So you can make a front page book and you can go, here's the link from here to that page, captured objects. So you can create a whole, like your own table of contents for your book if you need to. So many really cool features. Go in, have a play, have a look. I mean, you've got all the standards up here. You've got things that you can actually insert. Templates are a wonderful thing. And as part of your templates, you can even set them as a current template. Create your own. And then you can use it again and again. I do it for meetings, for training. What are the questions I need to ask for every single session I do with a client, for example? Save them. Get your screen clipping in, get the pictures, put videos in, tables. You know, I can, if I want to do a table, or I can just go new, tab, table, tab, whoop, is tab here, automatically, enter with a tab. Rather rich. Insert a space. I don't want that. Well, I need to do that again. Insert space, I just want to divide them out from one line to the next. And it's not wanting to get it for me. Of course, or move my lines up and down. Either or. But if I've got a ton of writing, insert a space. I want to put a bit of space in so I can type some more, write some more. Easy done. So that hits us on the 11th hour, everyone. You know, so many things that are there in terms of the, you know, the features that are, let's have a look. Some of the questions we've got. The refreshing the page for new edits. Yeah, look, you know, as a part of it, just do right click over on the side, go sync it. So that's the way you'll often do it. That's kind of your refresh to sync. You can also bring notes through from Android as well. In the top right-hand corner, you've got all your notes and your sticky notes that you can actually feed in. There's a feed that you can bring through in the top right-hand corner, and you can sync it to your Android. So many cool features. You don't see lines. On your View tab, you've got ruled lines. If you want to search, come up to the top here, do your search. If you can't still find it, go to your history. Go find it by the last week, month, find by an author, for example. You know, features that are useful for developers. Look, there are so much of this is I see used. Whatever it happens to look like, there are lots of features that you can use along the way. How do you decide when to use OneNote versus SharePoint? Very different technology. SharePoint is a document management system. It's all knowledge management. OneNote is note taking. I don't put my documents into OneNote. I'm just using it to note take or maybe draw all over. It's not going to do version history. It's not going to do all that for you, for example. How much can you store for free? In OneNote, I've been going since 2014, had absolutely no problems with that notebook. It's still going for a really long time. It's as much as your OneDrive, which is sort of unlimited. At what point will it start to get unstable though? And so far, I have a lot of content and it's not unstable yet. A lot of pictures and information. So, but, you know, there are course recommendations, you know, you can go and have a look at online. Do we have any other questions I've missed? Accessibility features are things like note taking, for example, is, you know, one of the core accessibility features. A lot of your accessibility features do come with your Windows and the features that you're going to kick off through Windows as part of note taking and dictation, for example. So they are some of the core features. You will find more of them in the app over here than you will actually find through the application at this point. Do only the original owners see who typed anything? For example, in the maths, I don't see that hi was written by some guest. No, you should be able to see everything that actually goes in. It could just be that it hasn't synced down to your version yet. Okay, so it just needs to, you just do a refresh and sync the latest. Might just take a moment to get to you. How can you see the storage? Yeah, look, yeah, you can. Each one of these actually sits. This notebook, for example, all of the notebooks, if I go in, so say I do it here, we'll just go here. All these are actually sitting in a particular location, for example. So you could go to that location and just see how big that notebook is. It's just sitting in your OneDrive. It needs to be in a shared location like OneDrive or SharePoint for you to be able to share it with someone. Okay, so you're not going to be able to share it with someone unless you've got it in a cloud location. If it's sitting on your C drive, you're not going to be able to share it. You'll need to move it. You won't even get the share button, okay, to do it. Can you search for content notebook based on contributor? Yes, you can. So if I come in here and go find by author, you'll see here are some of the authors, guest contributors. So depending on what books that I've actually got on, search this notebook or search all notebooks. So if I got search notebooks, I can actually go through and find, other contributions depending on who it is that I'm working with. These are all the work that I'm working with others. So dates, times, when I've done it, who I've done it with, for example. Okay. Any other questions? We've gone through plenty of content. Where are you going to find some further information in the presentation? I've actually put in a link, a whole heap of links to, give it a chance to come up, to OneNote training, some of the basic tasks. There's heaps of LinkedIn learning around it. So in terms of OneNote course, Microsoft have courses and quick start guides, for example. Oz Tablet PC Online have a OneNote YouTube channel around using your pens and OneNote, really awesome Aussie company that do a lot in this space, apart from sort of myself and helping out and training. Go and have a look in the OneNote tech community where we're all kind of supporting you and having discussions. And as I said, there's a lot of science around the things that we actually do. So I will make sure that you've actually got this presentation and it's ready for you after the fact, and you'll be able to have a play around with this content, hopefully. And learn a little bit more. Go paper light wherever you can. Get rid of those notebooks. It might take you a little bit of getting used to it, but I tell you what, it is so worth doing it. It revolutionized the way that I actually work, without a doubt. You can't grant administrator rights in terms of Outlook Delegate. It is, you all have kind of rights over it when you start to share and you've got edit, apart from the fact that you own the book if it's in your OneNote. If you put it into SharePoint, if that SharePoint and you're all kind of owners in that SharePoint delegation, they'll be able to do, of course, more like delete the notebook, which you can't do if it's in your personal OneDrive for Business, for example. Okay. Hopefully that kind of gets you on the journey of the possibilities. This was not a step-by-step on how to do absolutely everything. It was more of a guide on how could you get to where you want to go, everyone. I know we've gone a little over. Great questions. Any other questions before we chop off? And sorry, I couldn't get my mobile phone up and running for you today. It had crashed on me to work.
I think that is it for questions for today. Thanks, Kirsty. That was a really informative presentation, and I've just put some links in there. I tried to put a couple of your links, the more help. But if you're going to share that presentation, then great. I can share that with everyone on the meetup. The specific event for this one. Thank you for everyone for tuning in and for your great questions. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening or morning, or wherever you've joined us from today. And thank you again to Kirsty. We hope to have you back at the Microsoft Reactor Sydney soon, both in person and online again for another event.
I know it will be different when it's an in-person, won't it?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Nothing beats it.
Yeah, that's it. One day soon. But in the meantime, you get to sit here with me and my books and my and my environment and my hoodie on a cold day. So I'm not all suited up these days. So thank you everyone for joining. There's so many really great features, and it's worth having a play around, guys. Go forth, enjoy.
Great. Thanks, Kirsty. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for joining in. We'll share the content on Meetup page.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Bye all.
Bye.